Hello and welcome back to BlenderDiplom.com. I'm Gottfried Hofmann and this is another preview video for Blender 2.8. We all know those icons here are too big by default, but if I click Ctrl and middle mouse button, I can scale them larger and smaller, just like in Blender 2.79. And this is the minimum size of the icons and they are still readable, so I think it's a good design. But let me make them bigger again, this time using plus on the numpad, which also helps in scaling them. Minus smaller, plus bigger. And did you take a look at the new 3D cursor? Maybe it's hard to notice, but it's now real 3D. The 3D cursor now finally is a real 3D object. And this is pretty cool. Because, for example, when I rotate this cube here and now click somewhere, it's not just snapping to the surface, it's also taking the direction of the normal into account, and thus you also get the rotation of the surface, which will come in pretty handy when we will finally be able to add objects from the interface, because then there will be an option to have them not just at the position you see here, but also taking over the rotation of the 3D cursor, which is extremely cool. But we can also already use the rotation even without adding objects. And for this, let me add Cursor. And then let me click here on this face here. And now down here with the transform orientations, I can set cursor. And for example, now if I move Cursor, I can, for example, now move her in the direction of the face we have here, which is really awesome. Or for example, I could rotate Cursor around that face. So this was possible before in Blender, but it was kind of difficult to set up. And now with the new superpower of the 3D cursor, it's just one click, which is actually super awesome, and the 3D cursor will become even more powerful. And the last thing I'd like to show you is the option to turn him away or off. Here I click show 3D cursor down in overlays and it's gone. And this was a much requested feature by sculptors and texture painters, because there it was really just in the way, and now it's gone. But for example, if I click here and then show it again, you'll notice that this is just a visual thing. So it's not really gone, it's just not visible anymore, but it's okay. That's, I guess, those who wanted not to see it will be very happy now. And there's one question I have for you, and that is, will you be happy about these proposed changes to the interface you see here? This is a mockup I got off developer.blender.org, link is in the description, and it shows us how the future of the interface might look like. For example, you see here that the icons here are floating and a top menu, which means that there is even more screen estate than we have now, which I think is pretty good. But on the other hand, those floating things might not be so nice, because they might also like get into the way. If you're like working up there, you might be tempted to work up here, and then I don't know whether this is a good idea or bad. I'd really like to check it out to see whether this impacts my workflow. Then up here you'll see a widget that will be used for navigating the 3D view with the left mouse button only, which might be super handy for those who are using Blender on a laptop and have trouble with the emulation of the 3-button mouse, because this will probably allow you to use just your left mouse button in your trackpad and move around the 3D view. So I guess this is pretty cool. I hope I can try this widget sometime soon. Down here we see a shader ball that's demonstrating our current studio lighting, or the overall shading in the 3D view. I'm not 100% sure whether this will be necessary, but we'll see. And I'm also not sure when this ball will appear and when it will disappear. But once again, I'm eager to try it out. And the last thing is, here for the drop down, you see here those special effects, like this frosted glass-like effect. Well, this is a mock-up, and the frosted glass stuff is probably not going to happen, because the developers want to keep the interface as powerful and speedy as possible, so as little overhead to a 3D scene as possible, because we're working in 3D and we have massive scenes, so every bit of performance matters. So now I'd like to hear from you what you think about this proposal, about this mockup. I put a link into the description if you want to take a closer look. And do you like it or do you not like it? Maybe you like something specific and there's something you don't like. I'm really eager to hear your comments. And as always, do try this at home. That's why I put a link down in the description with the download of Blender 2.8 preview builds.